Welcome to PowerApps with Wes. I'm your host, Wes. Today I'm going to go over a offline app and some of the performance benefits it can have over its counterpart, an online app. The offline app can be used while you're online, but it doesn't have to be. In any case, you get a little bit of performance increase, and it kind of introduces you a little bit into what you can do with this offline mode. Save data, load data commands in PowerApps. So let's just demo the online version first. I'm connected to a SQL database, and I'm on Wi-Fi, so it should load up pretty quick here. And I'll just show you how you can see the performance increase here. So if I search for a name, you can see it takes just a second for it to load up. It's not the fastest thing in the world. It's pretty fast, but maybe it could be faster, right? Just do a couple other searches here just so you can see kind of how fast it goes. And now we will switch over to the offline mode app. So this is the offline mode app. And you can see that the gallery is already loaded up with all of the items because it's working off a collection. So if I type in the same name, you can see a little how much faster it is to search through that gallery database instead of having to worry about querying the database back online. It's actually querying a collection that's stored inside of my phone. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is make a new app. And we're going to use a phone layout on this because it's a phone search app. We're going to make it so you can call people and text people from the app itself. So we just start with our first screen here, and we're going to throw on a gallery. We're going to throw on a vertical gallery. We don't need the image there, so we'll change this to title and subtitle. You guys are probably going to want to see the data source, so I will pull that up here on the screen. Here's the database. What I did was I took the AdventureWorks 2012 database and I combined two databases together to give me first name, last name. I combined the first name and last name to give me full name, and it's got a phone number in here. So here's your data source right here, just in case you were wondering what it looked like. And don't think that this is limited to SQL. This could be a SharePoint list, an Excel file. It can be whatever you have that's got names and phone numbers in it. And let's get back to the app. All right, so we need to connect this to a data source, right? I haven't made it yet, so let's go ahead and like I said, we're using a SQL server, and we're using the AdventureWorks 2012 database. And the table is PowerApps with Wes phone search demo. So there it is there. We'll connect to it. And now it's got it all populated. That's not the fields we want, so let's change up these fields. We want this to be the phone number, and we want this to be the full name. So that's how we want to display it. All right, so we've got our gallery displaying the names here, right? Let's make this more like a phone book, and let's make it like a digital phone book, right? Let's put a text input in here so we can search this gallery and filter it out. So we'll change text input. All right. So what do we want to do here? We want to make it like a phone book, so we want to sort the columns, and we want to be able to filter it based on what we enter in the text field. So we're going to do a sort by, we're filtering this sort, we're sorting this source, but we also want to filter it. So let's do a filter command as well. Here, let's open this up so we can see what's going on here. A filter command, we're going to filter that source based on stuff in our search box. So we'll do text input 1 dot text in full name. So we're going to use the full name, right? Or text input, text input one.text in the phone number. So we can also search by phone number if we want. So phone, there we go. So that gets our filter. We can close that off. And how are we going to sort? We're going to sort by the last name field. And then we're going to close out our command. All right, so let's look and see what that looks like. All right, so we've got last names starting with A at the top. And if you scroll down, there's a lot of A's in this database. There's the B's. Okay, so it's sorting properly. Now let's preview this and make sure it works how we think it should. Perfect. Now I mentioned that we wanted to make it so we could call or text out of this app. So we'll just get rid of this. Actually, you know what? We don't need to get rid of this at all. Here's a cool tip here for you. When you need to add an icon up here, this list is not searchable. It drives me insane. It probably drives you insane too. So what you can do is just add any icon. So we'll go into the first gallery spot. We'll add any icon here, right? We'll drag it over this way. And instead of using the check, we'll go over here. And if you look right here, it is filterable and searchable over in the sidebar properties. So I want the phone app, and we're going to make this, instead of select parent, we're going to launch tell, and we'll do a concatenate this item dot phone number. Close that off. So now when if I press this button, it tries to launch a phone call. Pretty sweet, huh? So we'll just copy that and we'll paste it in here. And we don't want the phone again, but we want the message this time, right? So let's look for message. Hey, look at that. Perfect. So we don't want to call this person when we press the message button. We want to text them, and texts are actually SMS messages. So we'll make this SMS. And you won't see this work in the browser, but I'll show you on the phone here in just a little bit how this launches a text message window. So that's all fine and good. We've got a filterable gallery, but this is still looking at online. I told you I was going to build an offline app, right? So what do we need to do to make it an offline app? First off, in order for an app to be offline, it's got to load data from somewhere, right? It's always got to pull in that database, those database values or SharePoint list values or the Excel file or whatever. But if you're offline and it doesn't have a connection back to that list or that file or that database, how are you going to do that? So what we're going to do is we're going to add a timer to the screen, and that way we can, and you could do this on app start if you wanted to, but I do it on a timer because I want to check and make sure the app has actually connected to everything before it just goes and tries to do this stuff. So we'll go to the screen. We will add a timer. And we'll put it up here out of the way. I like to check 3 seconds after the app launches. That's just me. I like 3 seconds. It seems like a fun amount of time. I don't know. And we're going to do on timer end. Well, first off, we want to auto start the timer. So when this page launches, we want that timer to go ahead and start. We do not want it to repeat, and we want it for 3 seconds. All right, so on timer end, what are we going to do? On timer end, we are going to check to see if we're connected. So inside of PowerApps, there are these awesome properties. You can check the mobile device or the browser source's connection. And there are 2 properties to check on the connection: if you're on a metered connection or if you're connected. So you can trigger a lot of things off of this. We're just going to check to see if it's connected. So if it's connected, right, we want to do a clear collect. And we're going to make we're going to make a temp collection, because if you were to, so say you're out in the middle of almost nowhere and you've got just a very small part of your cell phone signal. You don't have full bars, but you've got like 1 bar. So if you were to run this on the main collection that you're looking inside or looking at in your gallery, it will populate very slowly. It'll just kind of put in a number and a number and a number and a number. So what we do here is we operate off of a temporary collection, and then we dump that temporary collection into the main collection. So we'll call it collection phone records temp. And what are we going to dump into that database, or what are we going to dump into that collection? We're going to dump the database. So we'll type in DBO, and there's our database. And then I said we wanted to, whoops. It's mad at me because the collection doesn't exist yet. So what do we want to do after we collect that? I said we want to dump the temp collection into the main collection. So we will do a semicolon because we want to do multiple commands here. We'll do another clear collect, call phone records, and we want to dump call phone records temp into there. Phone records temp. And then in order to make it so the offline mode works, we want to save that data. We want to save it to the phone. So PowerApps has these 2 functions called save data and load data. It makes a file that is read by PowerApps, exactly what it needs, everything it needs. You don't have to do anything special to it except give it a file name. So we'll do a save data. And if you look up here at the top, it wants a source. So what are we saving? We're going to save the collection, phone records. And what are we going to call it? We're going to call it file phone records. Close out our save data command and close out our if statement. So now this is all happy, right? Let's press enter. Look, it's all happy. Perfect. So when this timer ends, we are going to clear out and then recollect into phone records temp all of the entries in this phone search demo database. And again, that can be a SharePoint list or an Excel file or however you have this connected. I'm just using SQL because I like SQL. Then we're going to clear out the phone records collection and dump in the call phone records temp collection. Then we're going to save that data. Now, what we need to do now is change out our data source on our gallery. So instead of filtering the SQL table, we're going to filter the call phone records collection, right? Not the temp collection, but the regular collection. And in order for this to work offline, we've got to load that data in, right? We've got to load in the data that we saved on the timer end. So on the app start, we are going to load data. And let's see how this command works up here at the top. You've got a collection. What collection are we going to dump it to? We're going to collect it to phone records. What's the file that we're looking for? It was file phone records. I think I spelled that right. And there's an optional parameter up here. If you don't want to see an error the first time you load this app on your phone or on your customer's phone or whatever, hit that comma and look at this next optional parameter. It's called ignore non-existent file. We're going to hit true on that, just a Boolean value. If you don't put in that true, it'll try to load up this file, and if it doesn't exist, it'll give you an error. So just to avoid that error, we'll put in there true. If it doesn't exist, pull in the database after the 3-second timer ends and just work off of that. But when that timer ends, it saves the data, and the next time you go to open up this app, it'll all work. So one point to note here, save data does not work in the browser. So what you'll see here after I run this, it'll populate, and it's populating because there's a little bit of extra data stuck here in my browser cache. But if you look now on my timer, it's not happy because the save data command does not work in a browser. It doesn't know, it doesn't have access to your hard drive, so it can't save that data anywhere for it to find it again. This will only work on a mobile device, so an iPhone, an iPad, any other kind of tablet or any other kind of mobile phone that supports PowerApps, Android. I use iPhone, so that's why I mention iPhone. All right, so let's save and publish this. Whoops. File, save. We'll call it PowerApps with Wes phone demo. There we go. Save. So we've got it saved. Let's open it up and see how it works. All right, so we want to search for the new app, right? Let's go to all apps. We're opening it up, and you can see that the collection is not populated just yet, but now it is because the timer just ended. So what we'll do is we'll close this out now. We'll drop offline, and we'll open that app back up, and I'll show you how it works. So there's our collection. It's populated. Our timer just ended, but you didn't see the ants march across the top of the screen because we were not connected. And now if you search up the names, they all show up. All right, guys. Thanks for watching my first video here. Hopefully there's going to be a lot more videos. We'll try to hit some cool topics, some helpful tips and tricks for you guys to learn about. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.